the guys.
Do you know why I like Starfleet Academy?
Why, Albie?
It's a school, Caleb.
It's a school, Caleb.
Treksploration.
Hello, and welcome back to Treksploration. I'm Albie.
I'm Chris.
I'm John.
And today, we have a very special guest, the one, the only, Dr. Trek, Larry Nemecek. How you doing, Larry?
Woo!
I'm doing great.
Yay.
Larry
You guys.
Nemecek. Woo! He's back, baby. We got Dr. Trek again.
In the house.
We love it. We love having you, Larry. Thank
In
you.
my
Welcome back
place.
to the show.
Well, thanks, guys. This is always fun, and this time I get to meet John.
Yeah, the beautiful John Irons.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I hope
We're lucky
they
enough to have
didn't oversell it.
Another one?
Oh, Larry, I got to ask. Since we talked last time, I think it was we did a Strange New Worlds. Maybe that sounds about right.
Oh, yeah.
I saw a video the other day with you and John.
Since then, Albie.
Oh yeah,
There's been a new Star Trek out since then.
is there?
Stop
Yeah.
it.
I just let you know. Just talk. I want to make sure you're keeping up with things.
Yeah, I'm going to join the academy myself. So I heard through the grapevine, I think it was on YouTube, that you joined Trek Culture. Tell me about that.
I have my membership card right here.
Woo!
No, it's yes. I mean, I'm still doing everything. Like I still have the Trek files for Roddenberry. John and I still work that. I still have all my Tuesdays Live Trekland show and Cadet Alice for Prodigy, and Second Opinion is back now that
Awesome.
Academy's here. Second Opinion is Dr. Trek's Second Opinion is my reaction show. I call it a reaction show more than. But yes, I'm going to be doing some news and a little bit of news, but like long form content with the Trek Culture gang with Ellie and Sean and Tom and those crazy Brits. They're trying to have a few Americans join them. So
Nice.
Not full time, but I'm going to be with them, dropping in at times. So it's
Very cool. I
We've
love
done
those
a couple of things already. A news thing that's been out, I think, and then there's one coming very soon that's a deep dive on a Trek adjacent thing that's fun.
guys. Love it. Love it.
Albie, I don't know about you, but do you increasingly feel like a little firefly around a mighty flame? Like, I feel like that's us. There are mighty flames in Trek fandom, and we're sort of hovering around the periphery.
Yeah. And you know why? It's because they're all so kind. So they give us the time of day, which is
That's
amazing.
true. Yes,
I
it is.
appreciate them.
It's the Trek ethos in action. Yes. Okay.
Chris, for like 3 nanoseconds, you said you feel like fireflies, and my brain went to Firefly, and I was like, "Well, I
Mine
always
too.
enjoyed it. It's lost a little the luster because of its leader's career.
I'm still
but
a brown
Firefly
coat.
as a thing is still a fun show. Yeah,
Right.
I want to try to separate the art and the artist. You got to nowadays.
I have a hard
Yeah.
time not starting all of my synopsises by saying this is how it is. So I'm right there with you.
Dr. Trek,
Coming to a middle.
Second Opinion. That has to do a lot with the fan reactions too, right?
It didn't start off that way because finally I said, okay, I'll do a review show, but I didn't want to be in the. There's just something, I'm an underdog, booster. That's why I wound up with McCoy and Tellarites and things. But I'm also one of these that when everybody, the thing is like first, on the comments of a thing, and I just want to go, really? I'm the one that wants to jump in and go 19th. It's like, oh, come on, guys. Really, for the billionth time? The first 3 times you did that was cool. But really? So that, and I'm a one-man band. I have guys helping me that are volunteers, Scott and Kyle. So Second Opinion does not try to be there at 6 a.m. on Thursday morning.
Right.
So we're real people. And we get it done, and we have real lives. But at the same time, also, since we're doing that, I try to, look at the show. And then if there's something goofy, and, for a long time it was like there was a crisis or a controversy of the week. It was either the F word on Discovery or it was like, get on the line. And then the last season of Strange New was really funny because there was always a reaction to the episode that went 90 degrees. And sometimes I quasi-agreed with it or I did. Anyway, it's, yes. So usually, but in fact, my second opinion for this for the first 2 is waiting right now for me to go look at. So anyway, by Saturday, not Thursday, not Friday, but by Saturday, we try to let the dust settle just a bit and look at the show and the reaction. Yeah.
This is the first show we're recording since the series has come out. And that week or so, there was like so much hatred and vitriol for Starfleet Academy by people that haven't seen it. Everybody that saw it seemed to really enjoy it, like myself. But everyone that hadn't seen it was definitely sure it sucked. So do you talk about that a little bit?
No.
Good.
No, I'm okay. I'm kidding. I'm just tweaking y'all. That is, and you know what? So first of all, it feels like time. I go back to 2017. It felt like a little bit of a time travel trip to 2017 when Discovery premiered. Mm-hmm. And then a lot of it, but if you think how far we've come since then, I don't mean with Trek, I mean with just online world and internet and fandom and social media. And it's kind of like we didn't know that algorithms and social media was the new atomic bomb. I mean, of the time, you know? Remember when Facebook was like the thing where you could talk to your grandma across the screen, or you could find everybody in your graduating class from high school? I mean, it was like this cute little like living scrapbook, you know, fun. And then, and then it was like, oh my God. And then Gamergate happens, and then politics happens, and you're like, oh my God, the world's gone to hell through, these things that used to be cute and fun. And we weren't as up with it. And since then, I feel like we've had 82 documentaries about algorithms and negativity, magnets and da-da-da. We've gotten smarter about it. And also, Star Trek kind of like the Doomsday Machine, kind of came on the radar, blew up, and then went away. But somebody figured out that there were a lot of bots and trolls that were worth, ginning stuff up and stirring up. But then fandom kind of settled down. And it was kind of like, well, we were mainstream for a minute, but maybe it's calmer that we aren't as looked at, as the other series went along. Fandom would get into it, but the big bad world wouldn't. And I feel like we've come back to that now. It's like, I feel like Academy crossed the radar of mainstream, whatever, attention. And good God, on top of fans, there's been some like real right-wing politicals jumping in on it here this last week. But I feel like it's a thing of we hadn't had Star Trek for a while, and then you've got the kids, and there's always people who are just, how can we make a buck or make a power move off of other people's, unease and chaos and fear.
That's it.
And that's what it is. So on one hand, it was like, yay, Star Trek is back in a mainstream focus again. And then these guys, but look at the tomato meter. And not that fan and critics, agree, but it's like 86% with actual regular critics who do this for a living. And those guys, yes. It's like, I'm sorry, guys, did you not get screeners? Are you only going by?
They are. I watched an excellent video today by Jessie Gender, and she expounds on the way that there's just this subculture of hatred that feeds on the algorithm so that they can get hits, and they just pounce on anything that looks like something from a culture war, that they can generate negative vitriol, hatred, and clicks.
It's I said it's the clickbait chase.
Yep.
The pennies from that. And that's how they live. So if you look at it that way, because actual real people, I've had fans who are in their 60s and young people, and and everybody says, oh, it's like, there's things I kind of go about it, but it's fine. Like you hear these guys like it's the second coming of, Revelation or something. It's like the doomsday of all doomsdays. Yeah. And some of it is they say things, and some of it is still like old man in the yard. There's some sincere people
I saw something. I didn't watch the video, but if you pause on YouTube, it'll play the first minute or so, and I think the title is something like Star Trek, Starfleet Academy, who asked for this or something, and it was and like he starts talking, and he's like, yeah, it's another Star Trek show. People don't even watch Star Trek anymore, but like they made another Star Trek show. Nobody's watching this. I guess it's like some small, teeny group of nerds who start. I'm like, then why are you doing a video about it? Like, if it's so obscure, like, why are you taking the time to post something about how much it sucks and nobody wants to see it?
Gosh, I'm sorry you're so lonely and deprived that all you can do in your poor little dinky life is watch this failed little show before it's even aired.
Yes.
Wait a minute, how'd that happen? Yeah,
Just make sure nobody watches this show that nobody's watching.
yeah,
Right.
I know.
Good job.
Right.
Good job.
Exactly. And look, I had criticisms of Discovery. There were a lot of things, and I feel, and that's another whole weird dimension, because then you get into the deal of people who want to do an honest critique, and like, here's what, like they do on Trek Culture, the ups and downs, or it's like, here's the pros, here's the cons.
Mm-hmm.
I have more pros than cons, but it's still criticism, and I mean like criticism as a little c, as the thing that there's been play criticism and literary criticism and TV and movie. We've had critics and reviewers for ages about everything.
Yeah.
And you're just trying to do that with this show versus the people who are paid to stir up versus.
Yeah.
Well, when you say criticism, Larry, I feel like we all strive in the community that we're a part of, like with Trek Culture, with Jesse Gender, with anyway, I'm naming us in that community because the hubris, sheer hubris, right?
All my friends, John and the gang at Roddenberry. I mean, there's lots of
When you say criticism, it's just having an honest discussion about things we liked and didn't like in the context of a broader discussion about Star Trek, which we all love. Mm-hmm. It's not just spewing hatred for hatred's sake to get a bunch of clicks from like-minded bigots.
I try to go back to before we had social media. How did we do Star Trek jointly? We would all go to a club meeting or a con panel room or a con room party or a club event, or you'd go see a movie and go back to the bar and have a drink, and your 4 buddies, 5 buddies would sit. And there might be that one guy in your group who was like the oddball, but you knew him or her, and it was like, oh, that's just Freddie. Or whatever, and okay, fine, okay, and you put up with. And then when everything goes to online, there are people taking advantage of the fact that there's no face to face. There's people taking advantage of the medium and the algorithms, but there are still sincerely, the grumpuses out there. But when you were live with them, you kind of went, oh, that's them. And then they still exist, and they come online, and they're sincere, and I don't want to shut them down. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But they're an actual human being saying that I can realize who that used to be when I had my little gang of 5 or 6 friends, right? Or whatever. Mm-hmm. Or still do. Or my bunch I get together with at whatever con I'm at or something. And it's different than, but again, when we're all like this online and you're looking at strangers in a thread of, 100 people or 500 people, you don't know anybody from anybody. And all the fake, aside from the fakers that are so stupid, they're like, like angry alligator 0.92786 or something.
Yeah.
That's my arch nemesis. I hate that guy.
Or the people who never, but it's either like an empty, an empty photo box, or it's something stupid. It's like, it's like a drunk bat holding a dead cat or something. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's like these weirdo AI looking generated things, or it's just like, gosh, I wonder if that's a real person. Someone getting paid to do this, from, I don't know. Melancholia.
Who just got on Facebook yesterday.
That is why I started doing my sign off on my live show, and I always sign it off saying we started like within as we got in the pandemic, I would say stay healthy, do all the things, stay woke, or I'd say stay awoke, check the sources. And for me, part of that is if you're online and you see something and you just get all like, oh my God, and you just want to go, before you waste your time on their thread, go back and click on their profile. Yeah. Did they join last week? Do they have 7.5 followers? Look at the thing before you get all up in arms about it, and save your energy, save your strength, and before, because I say stay awoke, check the sources. There's a lot of fake news out there. It's getting thick out there. And I mean, that's kind of my take in it before, because my main path down that way is like, how much history have we never heard before? And that's, to me, staying awoke is like, I'm waking up to all the crap that either got buried years ago or is being buried now, or is just complete now. So that's why I say, check the sources. Like, is this a credible thing you're hearing? Because of all the crap online. And we wandered into this all naive, by the mid-teens, and then it all got thrown at us, and we saw the results by 2016. and 20, and then the pandemic and all that. And then finally, these little mini documentaries started coming out about what all social media is really based on. So if you're going to use it, keep up your defenses and now be smarter about it. If you got to get your power from a nuclear station, okay, fine, but you need to know what that entails. So anyway, so it's been weird because I thought Star Trek had gotten not boring and cushy, but over the years since 2017, a lot of that went away. And boy, howdy, did it come roaring back. So that's a compliment, I guess.
Yeah, I think so. But you know what? I will say, since the first 2 episodes premiered, I saw a lot of people online really saying how surprised and excited and how much they enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yes, there was one person that commented on our review for episode 2, beta test, saying there is so much negativity and hatred, and then also so much sugarcoating. I don't know if I should waste my time or spend my time even trying this out. And I just responded. I said, look, there's a lot to not like about the modern era of Star Trek in many ways. But if you're going to take a chance, you should take a chance on this show. And that's all you can say. And it's just like, that seemed like someone who was legitimately on the fence, not just hating for hate's sake, but really unsure. Yeah, right. Yes. Unsure what to think and how to proceed because of all of the conflicting information that's out there. But at the end of the day, you got to watch it for yourself and make a decision. And oh no, I watched an episode of Star Trek. What do you have to lose?
And when they put the first one on free, I said somewhere as that went by, I'm like, look, that's not an act of desperation. That's an act of strength. Like, we've sold all the subscriptions we think we're going to get in the next 24 hours or 48 hours. So here it is free. Just, come watch yourself.
Enjoy.
And my gosh, Holly Hunter is so good. And
so good.
And, and Yashir, I did not know Yashiri there. And I was curious what the Lurathok was going to be like. And boy, the revelation in this 3rd episode, I was like, oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't see that coming, but okay, fine. But the other thing that gets me is, and I think there's some sincere, this is the other thing. I was calling them the crusty crankies. Or Janet, when the kids were little, she would say, oh, don't be such a cranky dank, like that. And that's what, it's like people get all in the, yes, the Jem'Hadar were cloned creations of the founders. Yes. In the 2000s or further back.
So
I'm going to go, guys, you're like all this stuff that comes out is like, yes, you win the Canonista Prize for the moment, but
they did explain it. She has a Klingon mother.
Yes, but I mean, even everything, it's like you're stuck in the 24th century. This is I don't know if you noticed it, but this is 800 years after that. And I'm sitting here, I'm the one that griped about how we don't know, like people would say, oh, it's all magic technology. We don't, well, they're telling us, they're starting to fill it in. And some of it is like the best of old Star Trek. Some of it's no one sat down, as they used to say on the original series and said, here is how a phaser works. That didn't happen because that's what Gene said. Don't making Star Trek. Matt Dillon doesn't sit down and tell you how his 45 revolver works. That was part of the realism of the show, and you had to be paying attention. Eventually, we had the Dorothy Fontana and Franz Joseph and Doug and all the nerds did the original books. And then, the making of books and all that came. But just sitting there watching the first shows, nobody walked out and said, and now, kids, be watching for this week's new piece of tech, the transporter. Here's how it, And they didn't know. They were inventing it. But all I'm saying is, it's kind of that same way now. We were griping about, what is the thing with the detached nacelles? Why is that such a hooly-dooly big advanced thing? And they never did. They probably didn't have a reason for it. It just looked cool. But they, bit by bit, we're getting some of this now. There was an interview with Alex where he did say, we are going to start talking about what's with the 32nd century, like what has changed and what's different. Now, it's still crazy because if there's one thing about the show, I am trying not to be the old man in the yard about the language, like the contemporary language.
Yeah, we have a term for that on the show. It's called Universal Cultural Translator. So not just the YouTube, but it translates what they're saying into a vernacular that speaks to us. or not even to us, because we're the cranky cranks. It speaks to the 15 and 16-year-olds that they're trying to get to watch this show. That's the way I look at that. Speaking of this show, what are we talking about today, Albie?
We are talking about Starfleet Academy, Season 1, Episode 3, Vitis Reflux. Stardate, 868856.7. Original air date, January 22nd, 2026. That's today. Woo! Written by Alex Taub and Kelly Rossetter, and directed by Doug Arianowski.
Nice, you did it.
Good job.
Woo! I practiced. So that's what we're talking about today. I have more to ask you, Larry, for later. But before we do that,
I feel like I've
have
said enough. I'm going to sit here for a minute. Okay.
Before we do that, Chris, for people who haven't seen the episode yet or are just following us and not watching the show yet, please watch the show. But if you're not, or if it's been a minute since you've seen the episode, Chris, can you give us one of your wonderful episode recaps?
I can do that. It's funny because you say that. Someone that had watched our first episode about the first episode watched it and got everything from my recap saying, obviously, I'm not afraid of spoilers. They just wanted to see what it was all about, which to me is an honor. So anyway, we open episode 3 with Raimi. You remember him. He's the douche. Mm-hmm. Raimi sending a letter to mom and dad about super overachieving. He's doing like one-arm push-ups and like handstand push-ups. And
that's what I do in the morning.
Real dude, bro. Me too. But he is being outdone after all that by Genesis Live. Physical fitness is kind of the crux of this episode. So naturally, we hit the gym with the combined classes of the Academy and the War College. Caleb and Tarima are giving each other smoldering glances across the gym. But never mind that. It's time for the Calica tryouts. Both Raimi and Live want to be captain of the Academy team, but the gang ribs Genesis about being an admiral's daughter, and Caleb hates being on team anything. He's a lone wolf, you know. The War College bullies start giving the Academy plebes the business. You guys suck. Enter the co-ed locker room, a la Lower Decks. We hear about Raimi's varied sexual exploits, and then the Academy gang gets transported around points in the school in their underwear, or even less. Those War College jerks, the prank war is on! Thok warns Ake that the prank war will be a dumpster fire. See what I said about Universal Cultural Translator? Dumpster fire. Come on. Just as the oversight committee arrives, and Dean Wormer is going to be so aggravated. Ake says, hey, chill. These are kids being kids. Let them learn how to resolve their own problems. Ake gathers the troops and gives them baby Vitis Reflux plants to nurture and grow. Essentially from central casting for Little Shop of Horrors. They're like these Venus flytraps. Feed me, see more things. She says they need to learn patience and empathy to defeat their War College opponents. Genesis convinces Caleb to join the Calica tryouts and let the competition begin. 2 Academy teams compete against each other. The highest scored players will make the final team. Smashed to the hellscape that is the Calica field, a very realistic war simulation, complete with laser drones and transport phasers. The cadets are freaked out. After heated competition, Raimi edges Genesis out by 1 point, spooking her by invoking her Admiral Daddy issues. Another War College prank prompts Raimi to challenge the War College bullies to a secret Calica battle. Captain Ake confronts Commander Calric of the War College for helping his students in the prank war. We need to teach them empathy and fairness, she says, not war. Calric is like, yeah, nah. The rivals battle in the atrium because it's cheaper to use that set, and how can they close down the biggest public space of the Academy without anybody noticing? But because the Academy plebes are getting their asses handed to them until Genesis uses her own strategy to win. Raimi runs away saying, don't look at me! They all get caught, get in trouble, and Captain Ake yells at them and all but pushes them back towards the Seymour plants. They finally get the hint and use the plants to prank the War College. After a heart-to-heart with Reno, Raimi confides in Genesis and asks to be part of her team. An elaborate prank montage ensues in which the Academy plebes break into the War College and infest the dorms with the Seymour plants. The Academy cadets win the war with patience and empathy. End wars by understanding your opponent and disarming them is the lesson of the week. It's also the Starfleet way. compassion, and understanding. Something Lazarus could have used. But what of Lazarus? This time, for the third time, on Starfleet Academy, Episode 3, Acid Reflux. I'm sorry, Vitus Reflux.
Yes. What does that title mean? Was that the plant's name, I think?
I think that was the name of the plant. Yeah.
It was. Yeah.
So first impressions.
First impressions.
Dr. Trek, Larry Nemecek, we'll let you go first.
Oh,
Honored
thanks.
Thank you.
Well, so in my second opinion, I talked about how it was sneaky but smart that to give 2 hours at first, and it was not a standard. It wasn't a 2-parter or a 2-hour movie that's been separated into it. Like all the. This was 2 separate tones, same director, but different writers. They weren't necessarily linked, but what you got was, I feel like it was a little sucker. They give you a first hour that, yes, it's got cadets and they're on their way, and you have the setup, trauma, tragedy, the personal story for Caleb and for Aki. But then you wind up with a space battle, and you have like the 8-person bridge crew all introduced by name and her little bio holo files, and all of that happens. And you're like, oh, and there's a battle, and it's Paul Giamatti, who you've been told was going to be the ongoing, big bad. But then they get to the campus, and then it's campusy. And then the second one, you had some teenage angst, and you had some of that, and you learn more about all these other characters and all. And this one, it feels like, oh ho, if you don't watch out, here's the one that descends into the, the college, they're not teenagers, the college age hijinks. So a piece of me was like, okay, if you were worried about the series, this is the episode that might get you there, except it's like a high-tech pranking. And it's like, how can they prank each other at the 32nd century? And some of it's old school and some of it's not. But if you think, aha, they just fooled me with that first one, really, and then the second one a little bit, and here's where the series is going to go. Well, maybe not. Maybe these episodes are all going to be different tones in a way, and maybe this is the one that leans the most into the college pranks. Kind of what the naysayers were worst, or one of the things the naysayers were worst, were warning you about being one of the worst things. I think they're going to hit a lot of tones in the series. Well, we know that. And so if somebody was waiting for this, fine. But that said, it is kind of intriguing. My biggest beef is with the audio on the screeners, because it's much better when you see it broadcast, and it's hard to hear.
And
closed
captions.
Yeah, and the funky words. That's the worst. That's my biggest downer now. But that goes away when you see the real show. So,
yeah.
It's very loose, like the way they record the audio and the dialogue, and it's not just the language that's urban, but sometimes they're so flippant about it. It's hard it goes by, and you have to, but it's okay. And some of that, it's not just the kids. It's Holly Hunter and her admiral captain.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. When it's like, how many different ways can she sit in a chair? That's the sign.
I'm loving it. I thought I wouldn't, but I'm loving it.
And it's her on down. So with her leading it that way, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's funny. It's funky. Mm-hmm. And then you've got the cadets. So, I mean, to me, the show's biggest challenge is, again, why do the 32nd century? And then if you're going to do it, what is so big? Like, what in the world can you possibly sit here in 2024 and 25 and 26 and make that's going to think this is 800 years beyond, all the 23rd, 24th century, the 24th century shows and series and where they were set. And I feel like we complained about that before, but now they're going to do it, and they're going to show it a little bit. And the people who are complaining about it, it's like, get out of here. But there's also timelessness too. And let the 18 and the 20 and the 20-year-olds be that age. Like, they don't have to be perfect. This is the other thing I've been railing about, is they're not all, yes, they're supposed to be the best and the brightest, but like Aki says, some of them got here in cargo ships. So they've had, and they are rebuilding. And yes, they did have some cadets before, like the Tilly episode with her cadets on Discovery, but that was like really getting things going again, like scraping the barrel to get some cadets going again, because they'd only had peace with the, that's what the War College was supposed to got them through and train people to run the ships and with a dark view of life. And they'd only undone the burn for a couple of years, and they've only had a year or two to get over that. And so the big thing here is getting things back the way they used to be. So it's going to be rough. But all these people complaining about bits and pieces, a lot of it is like, did you not read the setup for the format?
Mhm.
Do you not know what they? And Ake kind of says that, and in a way, her yelling at the Kelrick, the commandant of the War College, is a little bit
Yes.
the way I feel like the showrunners are yelling at fans who don't get it yet. You know what I'm saying?
Interesting.
like that.
Interesting.
When she's saying, he's going, oh, they're not, my people are ultimately superior, and they're too off the, they're too loose and rogue and all that. And she's going, all they've known is the burn and growing up with dystopia, and like we're trying to rebuild, so cut them a break and they'll be fine. And I feel like that's almost like the way, I don't know, I don't think they realized that a year and a half ago or 2 years ago when they wrote and filmed them, but that almost sounds like what the creators and maybe the fandom that gets the show is telling the rest of the naysayers. Does it make sense? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Coming into my brain and coming off my tongue as I'm sitting here thinking it.
Yeah.
It's really cool and meta.
Yeah, I'm feeling like her little speech to him at the end, and then when he comes up and grudgingly, spoilers, when he begrudgingly accepts it, I feel like that's a little bit of what we're engaged in right now with people that may be critiquing the show, and legit critiques are great, but people who just don't get it yet, or they have questions and maybe they just hadn't thought of what's going on here. But we were complaining that the 32nd century was this big unknown. Well, now they're starting to fill it in, and I do want more. I do want to hear more. And the individual stories of the cadets are going to fill parts of that in too. Just like Terema's like Beta, like no one thought of Beta Z through all the Discovery post burn, and then suddenly you go, Beta Z was one of the ones that left, and has still not come back, and they're debating whether to come. That's not a done deal, which was an interesting bit of that last. So those kinds of things going forward are going to be interesting, and I just realized that the whole thing between the two camps here, War College and Starfleet, is kind of a growth moment for the whole recovery from the burn.
Cool.
For us.
Nice.
Chris,
I'm sorry. First impressions.
First impressions. It's odd to me.
For the entire rest of the show.
It's fine. No,
That's why you're here.
It's a great
your knowledge and opinion on us.
No, it's a great take. It's great. It's a great broader view of.
I was thinking that through as it was coming out. Yeah. So anyway, I'll sit down.
It happens to me. Happens to me all the time, and that's the best. That's the best part of doing the podcast, when something synthesizes right there in the moment.
Okay.
I have to say that this is, to speak to some of the things you were saying, Larry, this episode gives me pause. I loved the first two, and then I'm watching this, and I'm like, what am I watching? Like, what is this episode about? It was a little bit too broad for me, and although I'm not writing the show off, you guys know I haven't seen anything beyond this. I try to, again, watch them in real time. Even though we have the screeners, I don't watch anything before we get to the next episode. So I don't want to be tainted by all what you guys say is the amazing stuff to come, because you've seen all 6 so far. But just John Q. Star Trek out there in the wild watching this, and this is the 3rd episode, it gives me pause, like the Trillane episode of Strange New Worlds gives me pause. It's like, okay, is this the direction I want to see this going after getting out of the gate with such a strong start? It was the most, I thought that the last episode was the most teen angsty one, but this one was the most juvenile of the lot. And that's what made me say, I don't know if I'm on board with this episode per se. There's a lot to discuss, but my first impression is like, huh? How about you, John?
Huh? No, I was fine with it. I agree with you. It was the most had the most Saved by the Bell vibe.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Of any Star Trek episode ever, maybe. But it was good. I agree with you. I agree with you both. Like it is. You can see this is maybe a sample of things to come. Like okay, so we're gonna get like the little budding romance. Okay, we're gonna get the prank wars. Okay, we're gonna But it didn't bother me. It didn't bother me. It was kind of a shift I guess certainly from the pilot. Um, but I enjoyed it because you still did get character. You got some insight into um, not just the characters themselves, but also some interaction between them. Um, uh, Caleb is the stone, the ice wall is slowly melting. Um, the captain, I like her. Don't get me. Let me not pause too long. Let me not pause too long, lest someone interpret that
You
as
could drive a truck through that most pregnant of pregnant pauses I've ever heard.
I was just going, which series? Oh, okay.
Set the record straight. I'm enjoying the captain, but it is it's a weird take. Like, you saw like a glimpse of it a little bit, but she's like a cat. Like she lounges. So she's mysterious and sultry, but also dangerous, just like a cat. In fact, if you break down the origin of the root word for cat, ake, I'm making that up.
I bought it.
That's all false. But so back to the episode. No, I enjoyed the episode. And you did actually. Now I'm doing like a in the moment formation thing. Like it seems like over the course of these 3 episodes, you'll maybe get a mention of something on an episode, and then the next episode they'll expound on. They really show it to you. So like, the first episode, I think like right at the very end, they kind of explain about the War College. It's like, so we're here together with the War College, and episode 2, the War College is right here with us. That's them over there. Anyway, here's this negotiation diplomacy thing. Episode 3, this is the War College. This is what it is. Like, this is the academy. This is the relationship between the two. This is what it means. Like, so yeah, and they do that with the characters too. Like, like, hi, I'm a Klingon who doesn't like to fight. Hi, I'm a hyperactive photonic being, or whatever it's just called. But every episode, like, you see more and more and more and more. It's a very, which I guess is probably what you should do if you're trying to A, launch a new series, and B, invite younger viewers who maybe have never seen any Star Trek ever. You should like roll it out slowly. You introduce the concept, then you like explain it. Example: this is what it is. So it's a very inviting kind of format.
Yeah, or
My
even
daughter,
the bits that are new to everybody.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
My daughter is 15.
Nice.
And she has never seen. I think she's maybe seen one episode of Star Trek. And I don't even know what series, and I'm not even sure she's actually seen it. But I said, hey, I think I was invited to be on a podcast tonight. I'm gonna watch the episode. Do you want to watch it? I basically asked her, but I pretty much told her, I'm gonna put this on the TV. You are free to leave. I'm like, she's like, oh yeah, I think I heard about it, or you told me about it. I was like, yeah, it's about kids in college. This is actually episode 3, so and that's part of why I was a little bit later tonight, because every now and then I'd have to pause. Okay, so here's because she didn't see the first 2 episodes.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, so this is who this is. This is what the deal is. All right, so we go. So not to experiment on my child, but I was curious as someone who doesn't watch, who has not only not seen this show, but really not seen any Star Trek. I mean, she knows like who Spock is, but she knows like things that are in the world, but she's not like a Star Trek fan. I was like, okay, so be watching. She's into it. We're watching it together, and she's got a question every now and then. But I just asked her like a minute ago. I was like, oh, I should probably ask what she thought of it. I said, so what do you think of the Star Trek show? She said, I liked it. It was interesting and very active. And I said, would you want to see more episodes? Yes, with the peace emoji. So
cool. There you go.
There you go,
That's
Star
as good
Trek.
as a review as you
success.
can get from a teenager.
I was
Yeah.
going to say, there, basic mission accomplished.
Mission accomplished. You
For
nailed it.
that much, yeah.
My daughter Serenity, named after the spaceship, is 13, and she and I watched the first 6 as soon as we got the screeners, and we were pretty much by the end cheering, and we both enjoyed it and loved it. And I think it's meant for her age group most likely, but I still loved it too. This episode for me was the most young adult episode of the 6. And at first it kind of like pushed me back where like the first 2 were more like Star Trek for me, and I forgot that it was meant towards a younger audience. This one reminded me it was meant for a younger audience. But once I adjusted that in my brain, I was able to enjoy it more. And I think I've seen it 4 times now, this episode. And I loved it more and more each time because I think whatever I balked at because it wasn't meant for me, I found other things in it. And I'm getting to know the characters more, and I know the situation more, and I can kind of ignore that because I've seen so many, like Saved by the Bell and all different, college. Felicity was one of my favorite shows ever. Yeah. So you're always going to have that, team versus team and thing, but when it comes down to it, I really enjoyed everything about the episode, and where it was my least favorite, I think, of the 6. It's getting up there to one of my favorites. Not my favorite, of course, but I just loved it, and it's great.
I love you, Albie. I really didn't like it, but I just loved it. It was great.
At first, I didn't like it as much because I was a little bit pushed by it, but by the end, I'm loving like this line and that line in this situation. And the captain, I just love that she can't sit on a chair right.
Okay. I was going to say this earlier. I would pay good goddamn money to see Holly Hunter sit down like a human being on this show. Just once,
Well,
please.
when
She did it once. She adjusted her chair and she adjusted the captain's seat, and then she never sat it that way again.
If that is a shtick throughout this entire thing, it's going to be the one thing that I'm just going to hate on this show.
What
But
about
before,
the bare feet? The bare feet bother you?
When she does sit in a chair straight, then it's going to be for a reason.
Yeah, then something's going on, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
To me, it just makes her sexier. I don't know why. 'cause she's just a free
Before
spirit.
we let Albie gush so much that he
I'm
puts
gonna
on his
gush.
before he puts on his Mugato furry, we want you to tell us what you think about this episode. You can do so right here on the YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/@Treksploration. Right here in the comments, tell us what you think. You can also support this show on Patreon. That's patreon.com/Treksploration. There we have many tiers of membership, and you can also join for free, and you can carry on the conversation there. So please become a YouTube member, become a Patreon member, and also hit us up on Blue Sky at Treksploration.bluesky.social. Send us emails and photos. Albie will put your photos in the credits. TreksplorationPod@gmail.com. You can also send us your homemade Mugato furry to P.O. Box 542, Bayport, New York, 11705. Send us anything there to the P.O. Box. It gives me a thrill when I open it up and there's actually something there from our fans. You can also support the show in a one-time fashion by various QR codes that Albie's going to pop up. We have PayPal, we have Zelle, we have Venmo, we have Cash App, we have all the apps. So please support the show in any way you can and share the word about Treksploration. And we want to thank the patrons who already do so, especially our lifetime member, the Omnipotent Willard, and our crew of intrepid Treksplorers. Those include our cadets, Listen Linda and Rick Tatro, our lieutenant commanders, Scott Seligman, Cosplay Dad, and Kristen Daljo, and also our Captain Charles from Texas, Captain on the Bridge, and to everybody out there for liking, subscribing, sharing. Thank you so much. We do it for you, and you help us keep it going. Our discussion here is, I think, gotta focus on the Calica part of this, because that to me was the biggest surprise of this. I didn't know what Calico was going to be, but I'm going like in my head, I'm thinking of like next gen Parisi Squares. And then all of a sudden we get into, like I said in the thing, this hellscape. Did that genuinely shock anybody?
Can I just say there were 2 or 3 things in the first couple of episodes, and one of them was it was because I was like looking at all the club signs, and like, oh, look, it's the this and the that and the Bat Left Club and the that and that. And the Doctor having an opera club. And they had that big, obvious thing you've never heard of before, the Calica sign up. It was like a triangle, red, rounded, cornered triangle. And I'm like, that's got to be something because they wouldn't make such a big damn deal and then have the camera keep lingering on it if it wasn't going to be something down the line. And I think the first week I said, what is that going to be? And then also when they showed the War College sitting there, during the public diplomacy negotiations, which was strange to me. I don't care what century you're in. You could be in the 18th or 19th century, and why do you do delicate public diplomatic negotiations in front of an audience in public on a stage, and the audience is kids? That seemed weird, but it's okay. But they would do that, and they would linger. And the first time you had that massive shot of the War College kids, and they had this look like a Vulcan, but at the same time had the bumpy head. And I was thinking, oh, is that a Northern Romulan? Because there's a Vulcan sitting right next to her. And I'm like, oh, cool. Because they're doing so many aliens and they're just like in the background, and they can't all be in the background. And she was in the foreground. And there were a couple of other kids that were cadets. And I started calling him Cadet Mickey Dolans. Because he looked like
you really know how to speak to me, Larry. You really know how to speak to me.
But I mean, I started calling him the tassel-headed, not tassel, but the tassel-headed kid, the big mop head guy. And and he's in some of the publicity stills. He's not identified because he's an extra, but he's there. And I'm like, okay, well, nothing else. Starfleet Academy has got the regulars, and they've got some recurring, and the guest cards at the end on the credits. There's 3 or 4 of that. And then there's still tons of not just extras, but extras you see over and over again already. And I'm like, they're spending a lot. And then they had the big mass scenes on top of that. But I mean, like, you could tell there's 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 featured cadets and other people. But I was like, I'm like, they're spending a ton for extras on this show already. It's a lot like the ship show, especially Enterprise. NDS9, when you would see this, it would keep the same gang of extras all the time. And if they were good and hung around, they got a name, they got a first name, and then you wind up with like Tracy Coco type people, and the letter deckers now from Enterprise. And I'm like, wow, they're out of the gate starting off. I said, which is good because they're not trying to cheap out on the Academy and think it's this big first edition of the Reborn Academy and we're following 6 or 8 people. They've got people back there. But I was like noticing they're obviously using people over and over. They obviously have some of these aliens that they're using over and over, but some of them are right there in the camera. And lo and behold, and then she had a credit, which I couldn't figure out who that was in the first couple of but the Northern Romulan War College girl who leads, now she's the prankster leading the prank show. Her name is Ozolo, according to the end credits. And the tassel-headed kid winds up being on the Calica team. And oh, by the way, they tell you what Calica is like you said, it's back there, it creeps up, and then bang, here it is in your face. So I'm just glad that wasn't all just gibberish in the first. Like there was a plan.
Yeah,
they weren't just throwing gratuitous crap for you, new words for you to learn. And these faces are, it's yay. But I saw that fly by in episode 3 here in Vitis Reflux, and I'm like, oh. Yeah, I was either really brilliant and called it out, or it was like, well, duh, it's in your face. Everybody saw it. We didn't think to talk about it because you're wondering what it is. But I'm like, okay, so I didn't dream this. There's Calica. Those people that they kept putting the camera on and not saying a word about them, they're just silently, even the kids with no lines. They're bringing them back for that. So there's your team of 8 plus 1 alternate plus the mascot. And all those kids that were not the non-speaking kids were all the people they'd been featuring all the way through.
Yeah, I really enjoy like the nerdy kid, the kind of weird nerdy kid who's like next to Caleb in class. Like he says like a line a show maybe, and there's it's exactly like you said. And I'm looking forward to. I don't know if they'll do this, but I'm hopeful that. Like this background character will come back not that they need their own episode or anything, but like, because that is like how it is in school. Like, here's your core group of friends, and there's kind of, the secondary and like the tertiary circles, and you do over the course of years and years and years, you're all in the same class. You know, it's like you are going to see them over and over again, and you will do form even if you're never like close. There is that connection that bonds you to them in some way, and I hope that and it seems like so far they are effectively doing that in the through the media of the show.
Somewhere in the background is a minkus that we're going to eventually learn to love. And I'm too old to make that reference, but somebody out there got it. I think that
Nope.
Larry, yeah, somebody did.
Comment below if you got it. I didn't get it.
The whole thing about the Calica, I missed it completely, especially when they were talking about the tryouts and the signups and everything in the first, because they went to the doctor in the opera, and I'm a giant opera nerd, so that's the only thing I saw was Picardo doing the opera stuff. So that's, to me, speaks to what will be a rewatchability factor for this show, because you'll see those seeds spread in, where I think that you're missing a lot of rewatchability from a lot of modern TV shows, not just Trek, because of the whole 10-episode arc thing. So you don't want to, we discussed this on the last episode with Steve Albee, that it was just like, you say you want to watch the episode about this thing, not the 10 episodes about this one thing. So I think that Academy brings us back into sort of that sweet spot, and it's nice to get all those little hints peppered in that will eventually become relevant and retroactively like, oh yeah, look at that, so that's always a lot of fun.
I think that was like the big mistake of not mistake, but they just didn't get it at first with Discovery. Like, what do you remember about the first season Discovery? You remember the Harry Mudd, what was it,
time loop one?
Yeah, the time to make the sanest men go mad, or whatever it was.
The
time loop one. And you remember the first two because it was the preamble, and Georgiou was alive and she had her ship, and it was but after that, and aside from that one, they all just blur together.
Yeah.
I mean, there were specific things that moved the plot along, but there wasn't a tone, there wasn't a specific standout guest star aside from Rainn Wilson being Harry Mudd on the time loop one. And now the time loop one. And then Picard kind of started off that way, like, well, there was the opening, and then you're like, wait, was that in the where along the way was that? And you remember events, but as an episode, you don't think about it, and they wouldn't even tell you title, right? There's no title in the credits,
right?
And then last season, even Terry's season, there's kind of a little bit of a blur, but then you get to Strange New, and they're like, okay, they've learned. It's like we need to have even if they're standalones, but there's running arcs. But there's a different tone, which I thought the first couple of years was great. And then this year went, oh, you want a tone? I'll show you a tone difference. And they're all going different, But I think that's like one of the lessons they've learned is and maybe we're seeing the fourth live action, come to fruition of that. Even though they've got these running arcs, these first three have had very different, overall, they have little offbeat moments, but overall there's a tone that's different to all these. And you remember, the first with the space battle and the introduction and the setup, the trauma setup with him and his mom. And then the one, it's just the Caleb and Taremi. I still can't say her name. Still learning these names. Tarima, yeah. You got the Caleb and Tarima show, even though other stuff happened. And now this will always be the prank show.
Yeah. The prank app. Yeah.
For me, it's the one with laser tag, the one with Calica, and I liked it. And I'm like not a sports ball person, so like the sports game thing wasn't my thing. But it's far enough away from sports being laser tag, because what does Barney say? Laser tag is awesome, And I've been to a lot of conventions, and things that don't happen during the day happen at night. There's dances, there's musicals, performances, there's different things that us nerds do at night with our nerd friends that we see every once in a while. And I think Calica is going to be one of those things. I think you're going to be seeing a lot of fat dudes like me in laser tag gear that doesn't fit, huffing and puffing around with like laser tag guns and having a good time, and then a couple of people dressed as furries being mascots. And I just literally see it happening in my mind's eye. And that's something I'd sign up for. And if I don't get for that, I can operate one of the drones.
I'm just waiting for the Wand Company to come out with one of because I think those were close to the closest you saw to the phasers when in Discovery's 32nd Century, when they would actually use their little, Dick Tracy wrist radio 3D hologram thing on their
They
wrist.
go like that.
That
And just-
they ran the whole world.
Captain Jack.
I'm going to
Captain
replicate
Jack,
some roast beef from my wrist. I'm going to do
right.
whatever. But when they would
I wish
actually,
I could do that.
when they would actually create a phaser, now I want to go back and look. I want to compare when they would actually show you a phaser, because I feel like they had that kind of lumpy banana.
They were cool looking.
Long thing. But I don't know how close they are to what they were using. They had what they call it, the Calica power unit or whatever, transporter unit. But they were black. So did they take those phasers and just paint them gloss black and use them, or do they design something new? But I'm waiting for the wand company to come out with those, and people just, not that they're going to let you beam yourself, but
if they don't come out with official laser tag gear,
yes,
that matches this, they're missing out.
And
I was going to say,
I will
Albie,
pre-order that now.
You were like, I should buy up Calica.com. I was like, no, you should invest in laser tag. Because you can get it like it's what, 30-year-old technology at this point. You can get it on like Amazon for like $10. Just put whatever company makes it.
Well, all kinds of nerds
them
have
this
games
episode
like
and invest heavily.
right? There's like Quidditch competitions and stuff like that. So I see Calica being a league, maybe. Hopefully.
If you want to make the real money, Albie, you got to invent the transport phaser. So
that's the only thing that bothered me, because you're still being killed, right? Every time you get transported.
That's true. I mean, depending on your philosophy on transporters, sure.
Well, Dr. Trek, what is your opinion on that?
But now at least you get a point for it.
No, somebody else gets a point for it. So
you know what? I know they actually say paintball in the show, or somebody does a throwback. So there's that. But I'm not the paintball generation. But even though I watched Big Bang Theory many times, but to me, because I was sitting there going, okay, I get it. They're being testosterone. They're being hormone driven, not just horny here, but they're doing the ha 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 thing. And being cruel to each of the two teams, and it's like, but I sat there for a while going, okay, so this is a recreation sport. There's leagues. I was like, so what is is there like are the games like when they did their rehearsal one at night? They had their midnight rendezvous to do a thing and adapted it right to the atrium floor instead of the hollow landscape, whatever that was they were running around on that had the Wizard of Oz flames and everything popping up. I was like, so what is and I get, you have to get it and you get a point for that. But like, what is the strategy? Is it just completely random chaos? And that's kind of what paintball is like. And they kept talking occasionally about what's your strategy? What's your tactics? And she had an overall plan for being, off the, her, I was like, is this like, this isn't like Kobayashi Maru, where that's a no-win scenario and it's just a character test. It's like chaos and cruelty in a little bit.
Yeah,
I mean that is.
And I was going, so to me, what hit me like about 10, 15 seconds in was it's like the dodgeball, or even what we called it when I was in junior high, slaughter ball. It was just like cremation of your opponents. You have big teams, and the idea is just to kill everybody down to where you get points, but the idea is get rid of everybody on the other team that you can, which is paintball, I know, but it just seems like it's just, I don't know. Just like I said, controlled cruel chaos because you're kid.
Yeah. I feel like
that's how you keep score.
But I feel like that's deliberate. It throws them into a situation where there is really no preparation, and that is part of what being in Starfleet is, but that's not all that Starfleet is, where that seems to be all that the War College is. It seems like they're just prepared for chaos and confrontation, conflict. Whereas this shows the cadets that is one side of things that you will face in this big bad galaxy. But then we have Chancellor Ake circumventing that, or providing a counterpoint to that, something else to push against with the whole feed me Seymour aspect of the episode. And
if the War College was meant for survival, like the bad years of the and they got down to 6 members, right? The 6-star flag Federation, and the guy at the outpost would never hear from. When they were just down barely clinging on, and it was the Emerald Burn, and they were barely surviving the war. You have no luxury of science exploring. And now they're coming back. I mean, part of me is like, why is the War College why haven't you merged already? You've had 2 or 3 years, but if there's institutional, inertia there. It's going to take a while, so that'll be part of the drama of the show too. Is because eventually they're going to remerge, but right now they can't.
Yeah.
They can't do that. It's kind of like the
You know,
Makos and
That's what I was
Makos-
thinking, but
Yeah.
flip the script on that. It's just like the Federation was the premier, the vanguard, and then the Makos came on out of necessity. Now it's the War College that's the vanguard, and they got these Federation plebes glomming on to who they are, trying to bring a different sensibility.
the soft,
So-
brainy,
Right,
Federation
right.
kid.
So
Starfleet kid.
and I was like, what is like the Starfleet logo is still, it's Ad Astra. I know that you know it by heart, Larry. Ad Astra.
Ad Astra Prestera. It's to the
so-
stars with difficulty.
With difficulty.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
difficulty's always been built into the Star Trek ethos. It's something that John and Ken always talked about in the early mission log episodes
Well, it's every
about
Kirk
TOS.
Yeah, it's
Like-
every Kirk speech. Yeah.
Yeah. You can never ever just be happy and like live in this technologically advanced future comfortably. There's always got to be some sort of struggle to define humanity, and we're still right there with this Calica. You have programmable matter, absolutely no wants or needs except for maybe whatever energy it takes to make the replicators work. So why do you still have to give yourself this sense of adversity to overcome? But that is so quintessentially Starfleet. And it makes sense because in many cases, I think Holly Hunter points this out throughout the episode. This is all these kids know. We need to show them a different way. But to throw them into the middle of that chaos, maybe that's something that's more familiar for them that they can latch onto to say, okay, this is like Caleb especially. This is what I'm good at. But okay, let's use that as a base that through struggle, let's find the more exploratory aspects of it. Let's find the nobler aspects of Starfleet using this, everything that you got here in a cargo container as a base, and then we can branch you out from there. So another way that the show is using the kids from where they are and teaching them that there's more to life. Maybe I'm reading too much into that, but it's the only way I can think to justify this without it just being because it's a comic set piece. It makes for a nice smash cut.
Well, I mean,
That was funny.
Yeah.
I do think, I mean that is I have done paintball. That is what paintball is like. But it also is, I've never done like War College, but like I've watched. It is, capture the flag. It is a very simple premise. And I think I said a couple of times in the show that like, the War College is established, Starfleet Academy is an experiment and it needs to prove itself. So our cadets know how to navigate this field. We can do this. You tell us to go shoot that thing, we can go shoot that thing. We can get around, we can sneak, we can shoot, whatever, we can fight. What does your Starfleet Academy bring to the table? And I think it demonstrates that what they bring to the table is this elastic thinking. Like, oh, you know what? This is the full environment. We can shoot the replicators. We have a permeable, semi-permeable character. We get like we can use their own their shots. That was yeah. If you're gonna do like open the show with a quote, that was gonna be my quote. It's like I'm permeable, not porous. But but like no, it's like it was that to me. This was the illustration of that. This is what we do. This is what we can bring to the table. So it's not exploring in the sense of, we're going out and we're doing something new. It's exploring in the sense that we don't have this same linear 2-dimensional thinking. We can strategize in a different way. We can fight by shooting the replicators. We can fight by, growing plants that yell at you. Like yeah, so that's I guess I didn't have a problem with the laser tag of it because that is what it's like. And you do like, yeah, you're hyped. You're like, oh, this is gonna be cool. And then you get shot and it's like, oh, was that it? That's all right, yeah. that fully encapsulates the experience. My laser tag and paintball experience.
Did you guys notice? I like this part, like, because it's it's a teen rivalry with the different schools and stuff, almost like Revenge of the Nerds, except they flipped it on its head because the bullies are so much smaller than the nerds, and it was like they were looking up to them and bullying them. And I just thought that was so funny. I had never seen anything like that.
I didn't think about that till you say that, but yeah, they are all kind of diminutive.
They're bullying Caleb, which is like 6'6" and 300 pounds of muscle.
I also love that Janet Reno describes herself as a nerd jock hybrid. It's like I wouldn't have thought it, but I guess I can see it.
I bought it. I bought everything she says.
Depending on the sport. Yeah. Tennis, gymnastics, I don't know what. Well, speaking of, was everybody like that? Hey, that was a fall off my chair moment. Didn't see that.
Did not see it coming, but but again, like you said, Chris, with the rewatching, it's like, oh, okay, I guess I can. Yeah, I suppose because it was kind of weird that she just showed up out of the blue to co-coach. I was like, all right, do you need two coaches? Sure, fine, go ahead.
Oh, I was just thinking
they're just spending time together.
Are they going to pay another character to be the two per coach? Okay, fine. It's just a convenience of having them both on the payroll and established, so they're going to have her show up to do that, right? But then
what is their ship name? Is it Renock? I don't know. Yeah, that was a surprise.
Jatak. Yeah, I love them together, and them talking about what they're going to have, the Klingon French fusion food and all that. They just seem like perfect for each other. And I didn't see it. And then when it happened, I was like, yes, I see it. This is great.
Okay.
Yeah.
That tracks.
It's not like you're going to have a big idic thing flashing at the, but okay.
Yeah. It's funny to me because I do like Gina Yashiri's portrayal as Thok in this, but another thing that bumped me in this episode was just like, is Thok just going to be the character that constantly is yelling on screen? It reminds me of when my wife used to be in the room when I had Farscape on, and she called it Space Puppets, and all they do is yell, because any scene with like Dargo is just screaming throughout his entire, and I feel like I was starting to get aggravated because every time Thok is on screen, she's screaming about maggots. Gina's probably needs a lozenge after every take, because
she's only screaming at the cadet. She talks to everybody else.
But it's just it gets to be a little much. Like, now we go from character and maybe but it's straying into shtick. And that's another thing about this episode that bumped me. Maybe having Jet and Laura together helps ground the character a little more to make her less of a drill sergeant parody, because at this point, this is what she seems like to me. She's just going to be the two-dimensional hard ass to teach these kids a lesson. It was really funny in the first episode where she calls them plebes and tells them to get down. I didn't give you permission, give me push-ups, the whole thing. But it's starting to wear thin. And it's only episode 3. And she's on overdrive most of this episode, pulling all of that nonsense.
I think that is definitely going to be a big part of her character, but I don't think that's going to be all of what her character is.
Well, do you not see she had the scene with, was it episode 2 or was it early in this one?
Might have been one.
The scene, but watching her arc with not. I cannot get used to calling her Nala. That just did not, or Nala. That just, or Ake. Those are both such hard names. Oh. Mm-hmm. They're going to make you get to know those names. Holly. Everybody just wants to say Holly Hunter. Or
Holly
Captain.
Hunter, yeah.
Captain. Anyway, they've been, and in this one, there is an early scene and a late scene where they do a part, they do an art growth thing, and she comes up and she says, am I going to, that last scene they have together. After it looks like almost looks like the format is going to be at the end of every episode are Caleb and her going to have a catch up moment, and then he leaves, and then and then Thok comes in and they have a growth moment at the end. It's like everyone comes to see Holly Hunter and they have their, it's like she's got the closest relationship with the two of them, Caleb obviously, and then but you can see there, and she even said it. It's Laura. I keep wanting to say Lula and Luna. It's Laura. Laura comes in and says, I did this at the beginning and this and this. It's almost like an echo of what Caleb just did. I did this, and this, but you were actually doing this, and this. And she's like, yes, I got you. And it feels like that's a thing. And by that dimension growing, it feels like that's common because she's you look at her bio file that you can grab from the first and get it early, and she went to and then she says it verbally. I went to the war college because that's all they had. I was a war college, and I know how they think, and da da da. And for her to say I've come over here, and wanted to do this and this and this, and maybe she had to be the screaming drill sergeant, to have a place to go to show some growth. But I feel like it's already starting to get there. I'm not afraid of her being like a one note. Are you really going to scream at the?
I mean, I hope, because the other thing about this, I feel like Ake is becoming kind of one note too. It's almost the Pelia problem. It's that she's trying to be whimsical, but now if everything she does is just weird and off-putting and over the top, but
Or sexy.
it all came together in the end.
But
I can't. I have a problem with. I've said this a million times, the lack of decorum in modern Trek. You're part of the Academy. You're part of the fleet. There should be some sense of hierarchy. But everybody is just everybody else's best friend. And now she's slinking around in pajamas and bare feet, not even sitting up straight, giving them life lessons from the heart. It's just like, come on, this is strange. My credulity is already strained. And I like this show, but it's just like, give me something to latch onto that at least seems somewhat credible.
Okay, I'm going
You might have to get off your lawn.
I am. I hear you.
I see you.
I'm not discounting what you're saying, but I will. In their defense, she was in her pajamas because they snuck into the thing. This how it happened. Like they woke her up. Like this was the middle of the night. They got busted, and so.
So why aren't they meeting in a? Would Picard have showed up in his little short robe?
Maybe.
Well, Picard.
I think here's the thing.
Picard
Picard wouldn't have wanted
Throw a
to.
goddamn tunic on is all I'm saying.
She was in pajamas.
It's not
She was in
normal
pajamas.
times. That's what I'm saying. Picard was in a very How long had
Yeah.
everything been stable in the Federation and Starfleet up until then? I mean, the Battle of Wolf 359 threw things into a kilter, but even then they come back and everything was pretty stable and by the book, and that's the whole point of this. This is a goofy. That's the whole battle between Aka and Kelrick. Is he's like by the book and da 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 da, and we survived this way. We've got to teach him this and da da da. And she's like, Jesus Christ, we're trying to come back from nothing here. And
I get it.
It's not all the way down because you saw Vance in the end. The Discovery shows up with some kind of a cohesive thing happening, but it's just been diminished. But what there is happening. Vance is pretty by the book, and I mean he has his soft edges, but he and his team back when you first met them are pretty by the book.
Yeah, and he was spectacular in the beta test episode. I really enjoyed
yeah.
the
And it's also,
byplay and his sense of gravitas. And I'm just thinking, are they playing up Ake's quirks to juxtapose against not just Thok, but the War College commandant, who again gets into, because this is basically a college prank movie, like Dean Wormer type buffoonery. We're just going to make him the butt of every joke. So they almost got there with me on that. So again, it's another thing where it's just like, it's not get off my lawn. It's just like, give me characters that aren't caricatures.
Well, I appreciated. Side note, the scene where the first prank happens and Thok comes in, she's talking to Ake. My daughter who was watching, she was like, she sounds like Elastigirl. I was like, it is Elastigirl. Good catch, honey. But I appreciated that she was like, okay, state your piece. Like she basically she didn't just shut her down. She's like, okay, she countered every argument. She's like, do you have anything else? Try again. Like, I give you one more shot to change my mind. So she did do what Picard would have done. She just didn't do it in a Picard-like way. And
no, because Picard was always open. Holly Hunter,
I think she was open.
She was okay. No, she was placating Thok because she already knew what she was going to do.
I don't think so. And she
it was just a matter of I'm paying lip service to giving you your say, but this is really how I'm going to do this.
I disagree. I mean,
Okay.
but that's open
fine.
to interpretation.
That's fine. I mean, you can be wrong if you want.
Oh, when I'm wrong, I'll tell you. Wait, damn it!
You two sound like Ake and Spock, right?
I see it now. I see it. Okay. I didn't see it before, but I see it now. I like
You
what
didn't
Holly
like the
Hunter's
heist. It was a
doing.
heist. It was basically a heist, Chris. Don't you love a heist?
I do love a heist.
I love what Holly Hunter's doing with Ake. To me, I identify with her. I feel like I'm like part Ake and part Jet Reno. I was in charge of a group of people for a couple decades, and that was kind of my managerial style. What she's doing. I did sit more formally, but not very formally. But that just easygoing. You know, I don't think she has to act all formal because she's in charge and people know it, so she can be herself. So I like what she's doing.
And it also like she might go see war college guy like barefoot, but she doesn't show up to the ambassadorial debate like she knows like she does adhere to decorum when she recognizes that it's necessary. But I think it's just necessary less for her than it would be for you.
Okay.
Well, look, Vance went after her.
Right.
They're going to restart this thing, and of the entire, I mean, it's a diminished force, but of everybody in Starfleet, or even the Federation Civilian Corps, even, of anybody that he knew of, or anybody recommends to him, he goes after her.
Mm-hmm.
So all this of where she is, and that, I mean, he's invested faith in her to do this and to bring it along, and here's the challenges, yada, yada, yada. It's not just that the kids are challenges, the big picture thing is a challenge. And I'm still, I mean, of everything so far, though, I'm still thrown by the fact that they're going to have Beta Z rejoin the Federation negotiations, and it's not a civilian person, it's the head of Starfleet, and we're going to do it in person. It's like if there was just imagine if, like in the old days or now, if the U.S. and Soviets had a big nuclear summit, and they go to West Point and they invite all the cadets to sit and watch them talk about this huge thing.
When you say it out loud, it doesn't make sense.
And then when they all go over in private, even though they're still in public, but they're at least not up on stage with microphones at little podiums, and they go over here and they get the heavy work done, but they're still in a mob of everybody standing with the little bots and all their. I kept wanting to go, wait, are the command bots not bots, dots? Are the command red dots only serving like commanders, and the blue dots are only serving the science people and the. You know what I mean? It was like, the thing with the dots, with the bots all being in different color-coded things just kills me. I'm like, okay, what's the point of that?
Now I've got to rewatch the dots because
I've got to. Oh, they have. Well, she called them by names. Watch the last credit.
Oh, yeah,
The voices. Oh, you did see in the. Did you guys talk on your episode 2 about the exocomp? Has a name.
Yeah, Almond Basket.
Almond Basket, and you saw who was the voice.
Whose voice was it? Was
It's
it you?
It's the same woman.
Oh,
that's
it's
awesome.
the same person. Yeah.
Who did Peanut Hamper?
That's amazing.
Yes, and instead of being peanut hamper, it's almonds. Yeah.
I love the naming convention. It has to be some kind of tree nut and some kind of container.
There's tons of info in the final. You have to watch those last credits of this. The smaller the role is, the more information you get, which is.
And you also, I think Albie pointed out what her name was because he watched the credits. But when you can watch with the captions on, it says her name in the captions.
And
when she speaks.
the screeners don't have. Yeah.
The screeners don't have captions.
Screeners don't have the captions. Yeah.
I don't know if this is true or helpful, but that's never stopped me before.
Thank you for that caveat. Yeah.
That doesn't stop anyone now.
Yeah. I can headcanon a little bit as to why they would do it at Starfleet Academy. It was because the youth movement basically was the impetus for Beta Z even attempting to come. He wasn't going to do it at all. So they're like, okay, this is basically for the kids. The kids are making him do it. We need to do this for them, and they'll drag him along. And as part of the appeal to them, they need to see this is what you could be a part of. That's what I got.
That's what made perfect sense to me too. I feel like that they gave it enough context to make that ludicrous situation make sense within the confines of that episode. Larry, you're not wrong.
You're not wrong.
Absolutely right.
No, not at all.
It didn't make sense, but it did give us Zoe Steiner. So I'll take it.
That's no complaint there. I was going to say the whole thing about getting him on. I didn't, you've been watching for her. I didn't expect for the goofy brother. What is, and then I couldn't even get his name the first one. Finally got it from the credits, the captions from watching season 2, the episode 2. And then his name is Occam. And I'm like, is that like Occam's razor?
Yeah. That's the first thing I thought of too. Yeah.
I'm like, how bizarre, but he's like he's the googiest goog in the group. Like every group has one of those. It's like,
this group I think has a couple.
I like how there's so many different characters and so many different types of people. Like if I think back to Next Gen, everyone was just very, very monotone and very Shakespearean and very calm, and but everybody is a different personality type.
So I've got
and also they're still in school. Like they haven't. Yeah. By the time they're serving on a ship, they will be more like that. But
they might be more calm after they're
still forming.
Well, people that we're talking, so the crusty cranky danks that we're talking about, these kids are.
Wait, you said Chris, and I know what you're doing there. That was not a slip, sir.
No. I was trying to get back to my own little hashtag things, and I failed miserably because it feels like talking about the first two was like 82 minutes ago, and it's already the time's moving on. But this thing about this overall, like just watching the promos and watching the little trailers and going, oh, these kids, like the cadet that swallowed the comm badge, you're like, this is ridiculous. I'm like, have you ever been around 18 and 19 and 20? Because I said, in any century. And I'm like, it's like how quickly they expect them to all be little, I said, marble statues of perfection here just because they want to be cadets and be officers. But I'm like, I don't know. I guess we've never had anybody in all of Star Trek canon like Hellraiser cadet Jean-Luc Picard or the Red Squadron that had so much hubris. They just took the little cadet ship into the Dominion War and tried to, cosplay being leadership until they, or Beckett Mariner was the antithesis, or my gosh, what about like a guy named Finnegan?
Yeah,
I mean, like there's been plenty of colorful Nick Locarno.
Yeah, Locarno.
Come on. Yeah. So I'm like, it's not like these guys have not all been paragons of virtue all up and down the scorecard. So cut these guys some slack, and then you add in it's post burn. They're all coming from the Federation is trying to restart something here. So I don't have a problem with that. And they did get to a certain level. They did have to get in there. And what got me also thinking was like, okay, so you've got Caleb as the kid coming up from, he's got the personal mission, whatever. And Sam is an android and she's just whatever. But you've got like, I don't know if they said the princess of Beta Z, but she's the president's daughter. Okay. So she's the president, but you've got like the privilege. And then you got the admiral's daughter, and you got Derek Ramey is like, what is he? But one of the things he is the rich guy's kid,
right?
And then you go, well, there's wealth, and you're like, of course there's wealth because the Emerald Chain was all about piracy, and you've got the Varema, whatever they are, Braca's bunch is still like piracy, and we're not totally back to a realm of scarcity. What's it called?
Post-scarcity.
Post-scarcity, right. A post-scarcity economy. There's still a rich, poor, resource poor, resource rich. People have, there's still the burn aggravated a lot of old wounds that they haven't just perfectly snapped their fingers and it's back to, Picard level utopia again. And even then it wasn't. It was like Earth and Core Federation versus the outlying worlds. Now I'm sounding like Firefly, but it's like it's regressed. And so, I've heard nobody talk about, what do you mean he's the rich kid and she's the she's the president's daughter and she's the admiral's daughter. And, I mean, that is a tension, but obviously it's a thing. But I'm just saying, yay, it's not just a carbon copy of all the Trek we've ever known. They have said, well, here's what, pendulum swing. And if the burn wasn't going to be a huge pendulum swing, then what is? And yeah, it's been 120 years, they say, but that obviously there's been damage, and obviously there have been things to recoup, and they're slowly getting there. And it's only been a couple of years since, Discovery showed up and saved the galaxy. Put it back right and get these
Again.
back in the Federation. They're still not all there, obviously. We just saw that.
Mhm.
So it's like, I get it, but I still want to know what the ground rules are. And again, it's like the characters. You can't. Here's the manual of everything that we're doing now. It's like getting the tech manual up front instead of having it dribble out over a few years. And 5 seasons in, Mike and Rick write the tech manual for the next generation. It's like we have to reset and know that we're gonna get. My thing is, as long as somebody has a brain and continuity and they're putting this together, if they dribble it out to us, fine. I just don't want to have it be they're thinking, show to show to show. What do we need here? Oh, well, we need Koanonians to be polyamorous, and have, like Bolians or what? Not Bolians. Like Denobulians are. Well, Bolians too. Bolians and Denobulans are like multi-partnered, poly whatever. And he drops that line that you can barely hear through his accent, but drops that line about, I slept with his sister and the other sister and the mother.
And the cousin.
And the cousin, yeah.
And the cousin. Yep.
And you're just
Polycule adventures.
That just kind of floated by, and you're like, oh, what? Is that a cult? Like, what?
And am I the only one?
That was awesome. I think that was awesome because
it just floated by, and we went right on by it. And
because it's not to be remarked upon. It's just who they are, and it's accepted.
Yes. Yeah. But I'm saying they're laying out. If all that stuff is about there's a plan for this, cool. And if it's just we just wanted something in the moment to throw in there, and maybe in next year we'll think about we should do something with that. I just rather have. And I know they can't think of everything up front, whether it's how does the stupid programmable matter work through how do all these we're naming all these new species, and she's Genesis a Darshaw, and he's a Koenian. And what are they besides makeup? What's different about them all? And, I'm just hoping there's a thread there that's not just, we needed it for the story. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it does.
We did have some more, just, not just rando stuff thrown in to have the moment that we need for this story and we'll never get back to it ever again, kind of a thing.
I didn't take the poly thing as a species trait. I just figured that was his thing. I mean, I guess you're not wrong. It could certainly be that. And am I the only one who was like, when Jaden Klingon was distracting them on the stairs, like there was like a vibe between like the blonde guy, right?
Kyle.
A little bit.
But then like later when everyone's fleeing from the plants, Kyle's just kind of standing there. Okay, maybe Kyle's just like that. Maybe Kyle's just kind of a spacey.
My name's Kyle. It means Kyle. That was a great little part.
He's the hope of, and he was a War College cadet. So I'm like,
he was.
He's going to be the funky nonconformist War College. He'll be the chink in the armor for them for their.
I like the Vulcan on the War College. He's like, yes, they've improved their strategy. They have replaced you. like every line is the burn. Every line is the burn.
So many good one-liners in the show.
Well, speaking of Jaden, I love that his little contribution to the master scam. He was sitting there making the eyeball to run on the retina scan, but he says, I wrote it down here. But he says, I can. Oh, come on. I do love the fact that everybody who creamed their shorts about a Mugatu, it turns out the Mugatu, somebody said, maybe they're having a party. And it's somebody in costume. No, it's the mascot for a sports team. Even when you saw the Mugatu team banner, maybe I'm slow. I didn't put it together. It's like, no, it's just a stupid, it's their mascot. What is he?
He could replicate any part, right?
Yeah. But it's the way. He said, because it's like, what is on his hand? Like he's doing the wacky thing, and then it pulls off, and it's on his hand, and then it takes Caden. He says, he took a polymer DNA imprint off of Kelrick, and he said, I can code programmable biometric gel. I'm like, biomimetic gel that was came out at the end of Next Gen era, and nobody ever got back to it really. But it's like gel that takes on the properties of what it touches, and so he makes an eyeball out of the bare DNA coding of what they got, and I'm like, okay, that feels like a 32nd century thing. That was another little thing and he's like there with the cake pan and the goo but it's like a programmable matter version of biomimetic gel. And I was like, okay, thank you. Now that feels like a wacky, in a way in advance 32nd century thing. And it's not magic tech. You just kind of gave me an idea of what you're doing. So that feels grounded. So I don't know if they'll ever do that again. But that's the kind of thing, and that's just going to be little brick by little brick by little brick. They're going to fill in what this time is like. And I love that it was Jaden that was the one, but he's the medical, quasi-medical sciencey guy of the group, which is wacky because he's a Klingon. Another thing because he's a Klingon against the grain. So anyway, I like that moment. I really love that moment.
I really feel like there are Trekkies in the writer's room this time.
Oh,
and I appreciate it.
Tawny's in the writer's room, and
exactly.
Kirsten Byers in the writer's room. And if I did that first thing I did for Trek Culture was I kind of because after the hoo-ha of the premiere in New York City, they did the little LA screening, and
that's what I wanted to ask you about. It was open
to fans, and they only had, it wasn't a big celebrity. There was no big blue carpet or anything. It was just Noga, and it was Collider did a partnership, and they did wound up being 45-minute sit-down Q&A with her. It wasn't for the audience, but it was, from the audience, but it was the Steve Weintraub from Collider afterwards. And I had said hello to her a couple of times in passing, and I haven't really had a sit-down chance with her yet, but I knew she was very into the show, and you could see her track record. She created and developed the Nancy Drew show on WV and a couple other things. And she'd worked in a lot of rooms, not as a head person, but at the bottom coming up. And just that 45 minutes, they talked about the series, but she said so much about her, and I talk about it in that Trek Culture, my intro to Trek Culture's network. But one of the things was how much of a fan she said, my dad sat me down when I was 3 and 4, and we watched First Run Next Gen together, and I fell in love with Worf. And then she said, and then eventually Janeway was my guidepost, and I love Voyager. She said, but I can't think of a world where I don't think of things in terms of Star Trek lenses. She said, I'd be in the writer's room of other shows and pitching ideas and moments and say, well, one time on Star Trek, they did this. And she said, and I became the Star Trek girl. And so this started off to be developed by another writing team. And it wound up with her, but they called her. And she was so freaked out. It's kind of like Paul Giamatti, except Paul Giamatti said, I'd love to be a Klingon on a Star Trek. And never thought anybody would ever hear that. And they did. And her thing was they called her out of the blue, and she was like, I can't do Star Trek. I'll screw it up. I'm not ready. I'm not worthy. I would. And then she says, I thought about it. And I'm like, oh, that's stupid. And then she had a meeting with them, and they were like, oh, we want you. And she was like, oh, okay. So it's like, it's not Mike McMahon or Terry, but it's like this unlikely, unheralded, quiet Trekkie person who was going up the ranks, the ladder of writing, doing her craft and getting promoted and getting to the point where she was developing and pitching shows. And they hand her a Star Trek, and it's like, okay. So that was giving me, I didn't realize that she seemed energetic and into it, and you could tell who's in the room that we knew publicly. But having heard that, I was like, oh my God, I really can't wait now to see. Even beyond I really feel like it's in people who are worried about this being skewed and all that, even though, it's young adult skewing, but look who they've cast, look who they've hired, look at the grounding to counteract just the cadet part of the show. And that's what gave me. So yes, all these little bits and pieces about what we're seeing, whether it's like the one-off aliens in the background or moments and mentions of things. And some of them are just Easter eggs, but some of them may be the core of some major part of the show. Anyway, I just wanted to share that again because I was like, oh, a lot of people don't know that. Like, who is this woman? And, I think, and it feels like she's not just putting it on. She's not just shining. Oh, yes, of course I'm a huge Trek fan. But when you can tell when they rattle stuff off and they're not, you know what I mean? When they didn't go out and research 2 lines and they come back and they go, I can do this. Yes. Look what a huge Trek I am.
I like the Star Treks. Yeah, you can tell.
Yes.
Wow, so that's a lot for, and we're only halfway through this episode, so we're going to do a second part, a part 2 for this episode. So click here or there to get part 2 with Dr. Trek, Larry Nemecek for this episode.
And the beautiful John Irons.
And the beautiful John Irons.
Guys. Correct.
All right.